All right, Shalom family. Welcome back to the Kingdom of Israel. Nation shall rise against nation. Okay, this is going to be part 2. All right, so we started off early this morning, jumping off into it. And again, for those of you that this may be your first time coming to this channel, so we're going to discuss biblical scriptures, but we're not going to do it from the standpoint of religion. We're going to look at it with a new lens, looking at the allegory, because most folks don't explain the allegory. They don't explain the parables, or they do not look at the hidden meaning within what's written. They try to deal with it literally, and this is why most folks do not understand the writing, or it go over their head. And for a most part, it's meant to go over your head because it's not for everyone. These writings are for a specific people, for a specific purpose, to a specific calling. And we should understand that everybody is not or are not the children of God. It's just not, you all. There are two types of individuals in this world. Two types. Those that are of God and those that are of the devil. Those are the two types. And I know that may be hard for a lot of people to hear or to understand, but in the concept of what the end is, we'll come to find out, we'll come to understand, we'll come to know, right? Well, let's look at this from the biblical lens, and I'm doing it this way, again, talking about the U.S., Iran, and Israel, because on or within the media, they've interjected that this is biblical. Like what they're over there doing is of God. God is on their side. Well, I say this, it is biblical, right? Thank you all for coming into, the live. It is biblical and it is of God, but God is not on their side. This is where they meet their end. That's what this is. So we're going to look at verses within the Bible. Like I said, we're going to deal with it from the standpoint of the allegory, that hidden meaning. We're going to look at verses they don't talk about in the religion. See, one more thing, if I may say this. That book, it was never about a religion. That book is about a heritage. And it's about the heritage of a people. Unfortunately, they took it, they corrupted it, and they created all of these conflicting religions. And they got people all screwed up, but that's what evil does. That's what they do. They're in control of the world for a short period in time, really to show us the magnification of wickedness and or evil. So as we go through the transition, bringing the world back to an upright and or righteous state, we have a thorough record of what not to do. Appreciate you all for coming, into the live. All right. Make sure you tap the screen. It don't cost you anything. That's my little rhyme for the day. Tap the screen. It don't cost you anything. The Daily Heart Me is up there. You all share the live, repost the live. All right, let's get into it. hopefully you make some notes, and then at another point we can come back and we can look at, some things that have been discussed. And for the disruptors that come into the room, you all don't worry about it, right? Just think about it. They could be anywhere, they could be doing anything, but yet, they came, here. All right, let's get it. Let's start off with Daniel 7:9. He says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. The thrones were cast down. So Daniel saw the fall of the wicked. This is Prophecy 2026 that I'm going into. I have a series online, and from now until Wednesday, the link to the YouTube channel will be up in the bio on the page. So you can get it. That's how you get to the YouTube channel, so you can see the entire series for Prophecy 2026. Okay, I figured it would be easier to do it that way. And I'll be rotating, links. So make sure you pay attention to what I said from now until Wednesday. It'll be up there. All right. And I'll be rotating it back and forth between another channel that I have some stuff up that people need to look at from the standpoint of civics. All right. Anyway, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. This is talking about the return of righteousness, whose garment was white like snow, meaning clean, righteous, without wickedness. And the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was like a fiery flame. You all don't know about the celestial flesh, right? That's the transformation that a number of us will be looking to benefit from as we come from the terrestrial flesh to the celestial flesh, or from the terrestrial man to the celestial man, right? Sheer energy, fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. See, this is allegory. This is that hidden meaning, but it's that celestial man that's going to interject within this world sphere and turn things around. This is where, when they say, no weapon formed against you, me shall prosper, because the terrestrial man will not be able to hurt the celestial man with none of his engineered concepts and, his imagination and those things that he's devised, that it has brought the world to this state of chaos and corruption. Isaiah 9:15, the ancient and honorable. He is the head, because we look at what the order, within the Godhead is, from, that being, the Father, that being, the Son, that being, those of us that were created, in that nature. That is the head. So for us that are in this terrestrial, we have to elevate ourselves to be on the same level as Son. Don't get lost in the semantics, you all. It's just looking at where we are and how we have to transition, and then knowing the process in order for us to meet or make that transition, because we've been misled into thinking, oh, there's nothing to do, or there's 100 ways you can do it, and all sorts of things that are in position and or place to keep us off point. But y'all hang in there. He says, and the prophet that teaches lies. Can we identify in this world and in this day and time the prophet that teaches lies? He says he is the tail. So I just got finished explaining, semantics and not getting, caught up into the literal aspect of what it's saying. And I said the head and how we have to know what it means to transition to that point. So you have a head and you have a tail. It's talking about righteousness. It's explaining wickedness. We can do things within our life that will keep us the tail under wickedness, following after the ways of the heathen and the way life is today, and you'll receive the reward of the wicked. Or you can deal with it as honorable, as ancient, as the head, understanding the process to righteousness, which a number of us are not too familiar with because we've been polluted. We've been given a false sense of understanding. We were born into a world of corruption, and that's what we're fighting to overcome. Job 9:24, he says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. This is what we see right now. So you all should understand and be okay with the fact that it's intent for them to do what they're doing for a short period in time. And this is why it is biblical, it is prophetic, but God is not with them. God is using them to help us understand what not to do, what not to be, to help us understand our mistake in following after them. And if we thought we could have success through their venue or trying to be like them, customs and traditions and fashions of law, that this would be our failure. This would always be the outcome. Disease, corruption, famine, pain, chaos, loss of life, when we should be looking to achieve everlasting life, immortality, no pain, no suffering, no famine. Those things are the things that are available to us, but we've been tricked to accept the tale, the prophecy of lies, or the prophet of lies. But here's the good thing. There are certain souls that were chosen before the foundation of the world that will return to their original estate. And then there are those souls that were just meant to perish. Now, I'm not trying to interject my own thought and or understanding around this. This is how it's written. These are things that they don't talk about in the religion because it does not support upholding European superiority. And they created religion to control the world, to trick the world, to, manipulate your mind. He says the earth is in the hand of the wicked. He cover the faces. He cover the faces. Appreciate y'all for coming into the live. He cover the faces. This is what I say. They gave us our monsters. They gave us our aliens. They gave us our God. They cover the faces. They gave you an image of a blonde-haired and blue-eyed individual as God. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. They replaced the true image of what God is and they put themselves there. It says, if not, where? Then where is the true image of the Creator? And who is he? Who is this God, this Creator, this righteous, this upstanding individual? They've hidden all of that. That's what the wicked do. And they've put themselves in the seat of authority. Oh, but it's just temporary, though. Don't worry, y'all. Don't worry. Isaiah 9:16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err. So our educational system, the political system, all of the systems that they have that we've put so much interest, time, and effort into, these systems have caused us to err. And I know we think we're so smart. We think we know something, but we don't know a fraction of what we're meant to know. But these things are in the wing. They're coming. It's going to take its course. And for those who make the cut, you'll understand. When I say make the cut, for a number of you that have ever played sports, you know what I'm talking about. Not everybody gets to be on the team. It says, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. So a number of you can't unplug from all the lies, all that deceit, and the desire to want to be like them. It's saying you're going to receive the reward of the wicked. You're guilty by association. You're hanging with the wrong crowd. You love being deceived. Daniel 9:7. O Lord, righteousness belong unto thee. He says, but unto us confusion of faces, meaning we know we're a great people, kings and queens and leaders, but we're confused. Why? Why are we in this place or this position? He says, O Lord, righteousness belong unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces as at this day. Like, if we're the children of God, why are we going through, all of this degradation, this hurt, this pain? So look at Isaiah 33 and 10 real quick. And let's see how Daniel 9:7, let's see how we can answer that question through reading the word as we deal with allegory, hidden meaning. Let's go into the broader description of what's being said, because too long, literally, we've tried to understand these words. And if you were here this morning when we were talking and explaining this, the book had been sealed for a very long time, but now it's open. It's to flourish. It's time for those that are of the fold to come back to the understanding, because the world of the wicked is ending. But let's see how it answers. Daniel 9:7, as we go into these verses to understand the righteous and the confusion on our faces and why we're in this position. Isaiah 33:10, he says, now will I rise. Okay? So if we're going to rise, first of all, we'll be coming up out of the confusion. If we're going to rise, it means we're definitely doing something different. If we're going to rise, it means we have a a total overhaul with respect to our frame of mind, because the frame of mind and or the standards and the way of life that we've been given to this day, it keeps us down. It has us at the tail versus the head. Now will I rise, saith the Lord. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself. How do you lift up yourself? The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. That's how you lift up yourself. That's how you not be confused. That's how you get away from religion and dogma and propaganda and rhetoric, and you come to understand the principles, the standards. These are things that you hold yourself accountable to, but a number of you don't like accountability. You want to make it up as you go. You think you can be wicked and righteous. We have to strive to want to be righteous, understanding you might make a mistake, and grace is available to those that make a mistake, but those that are intent on doing and being within corruption, this is no life for you. Number 11, he says, ye shall conceive chaff. Y'all know what happens to the chaff. It goes into the fire. Ye shall bring forth stubble. Your breath as fire shall devour you. For those that do not speak according to principle, accountability, integrity, the law within the heritage, righteousness, he says, your breath, meaning the words that you've come to utter, these are the things that are going to destroy you. As I'll say, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. You all, this is not about religion. This is about a change within the frame of your mind, a change within your thought process. This is what's elevating what we think, what we do, how we be. This ain't religion, y'all. Y'all love, like I said, to talk about deep, mysterious things within Pisces to Aquarius and knowing, but what it takes to get there, a number of you aren't willing to do it because it's easier to stand with them in the familiarity of the corruption, the lies, the deceit. You don't have to be accountable when you walk with them. You can be double-minded and you could just do what you want to do. And a number of you, you're cool with that. And again, that's why the world is the way it is. And that's why we're at the tail, because God says, you're not going to represent me in error. We can only represent him in perfection. And what do? They tell you nobody's perfect. No one can ever be perfect. But yet, every illustration within these writings say we must be perfect. So who are you going to believe? Who are you going to listen to? Those that say you can't be perfect? Or will, within the writings, he set us up for failure, say, be perfect, but yet you can never achieve it? That don't make sense. It's just, you've been listening to those that lead in error. So you can stay at the bottom and they want to stay in your proper position and or place. It's a trick. It's a trick. And those who know, they should talk about it. He says, Zephaniah 2:1, gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together O nation not desired. You know, it's as if we've forgotten that we're a nation. I know because we've been stripped, not only of our name, we've been stripped of our heritage, right? Not only of our name, we've also been stripped of our heritage. So we don't know that we're a nation of people. And we're still being ruled by another nation of people. And that's why, even here in this place of America, under the rule of the colonizers, you all have heard me talk about what it means to decolonize or decolonization and being able to position ourselves so that we can function as a people separate from them. Even in this day and time, until the total and or full transition come into place and be. But the work and dedication that it takes to achieve that, a number of you only want to talk about it. You want somebody else to do the work for you when it's clearly stated, you better save yourself. And knowing what it means to be able to meet the measure in how you can achieve what it means to salvage yourself. You have to be responsible for you, and there's an antidote. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Not into any man's religion. Gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. He says, before the decree bring forth. Remember, he was talking about that chaff and how it would go into the fire. That's the decree. He says, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. See, a lot of you don't understand, don't believe, because through the religion, like I said, they have given us our monsters, our aliens, and our gods. So when you hear words sound like Lord, God, and Jesus, you fall into the narrative trap and you can't get out. But what it's expressing is there's a point in time when a shift is going to take place on this earth, and a transition is going to happen like in a twinkling of an eye. Everybody's not going to make the cut. And I know for a number of you, this sounds fantastical. No way, no how. And it's okay, because this isn't for everyone. It's like a number of you are here, even in the chat. Why are you here if you're not trying to achieve? If you're not trying to understand how to ascend? If you're not trying to help people understand how to come from the bottom to get to the top, why are you here dealing with mundane measures? I'll tell you why. Because you're in position to receive the reward of the wicked. You're a part of that distraction that's meant to move those away from success. You can be anywhere. You can be doing anything. But you're wasting your time trying to be a distraction. He says, Isaiah 33 and 12, he says, and the people shall be as the burning of lime. They don't talk about this in those religions, y'all. But this is what's coming as we see nation shall rise against nation. As we hear about these rumors and these conflicts, and all of these things have already been expressed within the testimony, which we call prophecy. And we're told to examine law and testimony, law and prophecy. And it said, if an individual is not speaking according to law and prophecy or testimony, it's telling us there's no truth or there's no light in them. But for a number of us, this is the first time hearing it, seeing it. For a number of us, this is the first time realizing everything we've been taught is a lie. Now you have to be vulnerable enough to understand what it means to start all over again. And that's hard if you're grown and adult, because we thought we spent our childhood lives to be educated and to learn, only to find out we were misguided. Now have to start all over again. Do you know how difficult that is for an adult? Making 50, 100, 200, 500, a million, whatever you've achieved for a livelihood. That's hard. But it has to be done as far as, making that transition. Okay? We have to be able, to do it. Make the transition. All right, so it says, and the people shall be as the burning of lime. As thorns cut up shall they be burned in the fire. Ultimately, those that are of the wicked, those that are, siding, with them, their end is to perish. And a number of people just don't believe that that's the outcome. They think they're going to exist forever and they're going to bring some peace on earth. And all they know is destruction. You haven't seen that. You haven't learned that throughout the ages and generations. They make promises that they just can't keep. Peace in the Middle East? Well, where is it? It's just a slogan. It's a vain deposition. It has no intention and or purpose. Okay? Isaiah 34 and 10. He says, it shall not be quenched day or night. Folks just don't think this is going to happen. But we have been given the writings that have transcended time, and you all want to get locked into who wrote it, where did it come from? No, measure what it's saying. Use your sense to understand if it's applicable in this day or time. But the problem is you don't understand allegory. You don't understand the code. You're locked into their definition of truth, knowledge, wisdom, and you have not realized these things are rooted within destruction, rooted within lies, rooted within limitations. But that's what you know as education. Some of you have degrees, certificates, and other accolades to support your ignorance as we are moving through the great war of ignorance. It shall not be quenched, night or day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, meaning this record of corruption is going to be in the annals forever. We'll be able to look at it and shake our head and know never to cross that line again, to see all of the pain, the disease, the destruction, the hurt, the sorrow, the suffering. We'll never bring that on ourselves or our people again. From generation to generation, it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. This is what I'm saying. We're not going to touch it. Isaiah 33:13. Hear ye that are far off, because we've been scattered abroad. Right? That's the diaspora, as I say to you. We know about the diaspora. We just don't know truly who is in that diaspora, but we like to talk about it. We like to associate ourselves with it, but when it comes to the work necessary to benefit as the people of the diaspora, a number of you, that's when you shy away. But here it is. Ye that are far off, what I have done, and ye that are near, acknowledge my might. Have you acknowledged it? Looking at the state of corruption, looking at the earth is in the hand of the wicked and how they're going to be replaced or destroyed? Or do you only acknowledge their might, their weaponry, their rule? Or maybe you've never really thought about it. You've just existed. Jeremiah 46:28. And you are what I'm doing. Let me explain, because a number of you, this may be your first time within an illustration such as this. What I'm doing. There's instruction within these writings that lead you to understand how to deal with it so that it makes sense. And it says in Isaiah 28:9, it says, who will he teach knowledge? And we have to understand, it tells us that knowledge is his law, his principle, his standard. He says, who will he make understand doctrine? Looking at the way we should assemble ourselves within it and the prophecy. He said you have to go precept upon precept. He said you have to do it line upon line, here a little and there a little. That's the concept. Some folks have tried to deal with it literally like reading a novel, and this is where they make the mistake, or this is where they get lost. Although it's good to read it from front to back, as some of you have, and some of you are in the position and or place to do it, but to get the knowledge, to understand sound doctrine, you then have to know how to navigate from a precept to a precept. So I'm not jumping around. Some folks say, oh, you're jumping around and you're just picking that and pick. No, I'm doing as it is expressed, to give the illustration to help you get beyond the words and get to the meaning of what it's saying, that it can be practical and or functional in your life, that the words can come alive from off of the page, because for too long they've been dead, just sitting there, sealed. No understanding, and you know there's been no understanding. And for a number of you, you've tried to act like you understand. And you went along with certain things just hoping something happens. But those days are over. Now we can move towards functionality within these writings, okay? So Isaiah 46 and 28, he says, fear not. He says, fear thou not, O Jacob, my servant, saith the Lord. For I am with thee. He makes a point to express who he is with. I am with thee. He says, for I will make a full end of all nations, whether I have driven thee. So think about what has happened to a great people and how they have been dispersed throughout the earth. And the reason they were dispersed is because they were corrupt. And you can't represent the highest form of elevation being corrupt. You can't be an ambassador to truth and deal with lies. So we had to be moved. But he says he's going to return and gather us. He says, I'm still with you, but you got to go through a lesson. You got to see something so that you'll understand the greater mistake. Your generations are going to have the record beyond a shadow of a doubt. There'll be no more argument and confusion. We're going to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's what we're moving toward. Okay? He says, for I will make a full end of all nations, whether I have driven thee, meaning they're not going to have any more power. As he said, he took all of their crowns, brought them down low as we return to the head. But you can't return to the head in foolishness. I promise you, you can't. It won't happen. We will be on a strict diet of righteousness. And for some of you, that don't taste good. He says, I will make a full end of all nations, whether I have driven thee, because within all the nations that we've been moved to, we've been ruled over. We've been punished. We've been oppressed. He says, but I will not make a full end of thee. He says, but correct thee in measuring. That's what we're going through right now, the correction in measure, understanding the difference between righteousness and wickedness, that we can make the correction mentally as we talk about decolonizing and decolonization and getting individuals to understand the first place you decolonize is in your mind, and giving substance to where you know how to do it, how to achieve it. He says, yet I will not leave thee wholly unpunished. So we'll receive, or are receiving, the judgment for our error, but in the end, we reclaim the earth. In the end, we reclaim the seat of authority to uplift the world. You all should want the world to be uplifted. And I'm just going to say this. America and all of its allies and cohorts, they cannot uplift the world. They're doing to the world what they do. Total devastation. That's all they can do. And this is why a full end has to be made of these nations. Isaiah 9 and 17, and you all, your seminary schools and your popes and pastors and missionaries, they're not going to talk to you about this prophecy because it does not support the superiority of the European, of the Caucasian. So they hide this understanding because they don't want to go. They don't want to be moved from the seat of rulership, but it's inevitable. Therefore, Isaiah 9:17, therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men. Why? Because they're corrupt. It's like with us when we're corrupt, ain't no joy in us. He's like, get away from me. There's no joy in being disobedient, rebellious. Only thing the disobedient and rebellious can receive is destruction. Therefore, the Lord shall have no joy in their young men. And you all think from the face of their religion, oh, God is just going to love everybody and anybody and come as you are and all of this nonsense. It's superstition. There's a requisite, there's a measure that you must meet. And I know their experts and their professionals don't talk to you like this. And a number of you don't like me talking to you like this, but it needs to be said. You have to hear it so that for once, a number of you get to think about it. You get to answer a feeling that you've had over the years that you knew, and now you can place it and you can act on it with direction, intent, and real purpose. You can change the course and or the trajectory of your life and move out of the imagination and the deception of this world. Therefore, the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on the fatherless and the widow. Anybody that wants to side with them, their way of thinking, their world, then there will be no mercy for you, old or young, male or female, infant or elderly. He says, for everyone is an hypocrite and an evildoer within their paradigm, within their way of life, nothing but hypocrites, nothing but evildoers. For a number of you, you see it, you're trying to get away from it, but you don't understand how. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. I'm going to keep whispering that to you. And it's up to you to understand, to work the way of adding that to your life, that it becomes the antidote, because we're addicted. You all heard me talking about that last week. We're addicted. We're addicted to the corruption. We're addicted to the lust. We're addicted to our desires. And they know as long as we're addicted, we won't think about being righteous or upright. We'll keep trying to satisfy the addiction. He says, for everyone is a hypocrite and an evildoer. For every mouth speak folly. That's hard for a number of us to understand, because within their wisdom and within their education, and I've explained to you, there are two types of knowledge. You have the knowledge of righteousness and the knowledge of wickedness. You have the wisdom of righteousness and the wisdom of the wicked. And we have to distinguish the difference between the two. He says, for all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is still reached out. What this means is we've screwed up real bad. We've done some awful things, some of us. He said, but there's still a way out for you if you're willing to commit. But a number of you're not willing to commit. But if you're willing to commit, his hand is still, it's out there. Just take the hand. And I'm speaking from the standpoint of allegory. And to take the hand, it means to convert your way of thinking, to remove the institutions that they've placed in your mind and to rebuild on your foundation principle, integrity, centered around the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Now, you have to bring yourself to know what is that, because some folks have said, oh, it's the universe. Oh, it's Mother Nature. Oh, it's just innate. Oh, you can just make it up as you go along. Oh, it's I think this, I think that, and I. No, you have to study. You have to study. Like you search for gold, riches, fame, food, and everything else. You have to want it. And in doing so, it then will reveal itself to you, but it's not going to be revealed to someone that's chaotic. Truth cannot dwell within an undisciplined vessel. You have to understand how to humble your spirit, because a number of us, we're too haughty. We're too, I'm this and I'm that, and get off of it. Bring yourself to the position that you can rebuild yourself within the right tenet, within the right principles. Okay. His hand is still stretched out. That just means if you want it, it'll be available, to you, even though you've made the greatest mistake of your life and you know what it is, and nobody else may know, but you know. It's basically saying it will not be held against you. This is an opportunity for you to clean up. Put the past in the past and move forward into a new life, a new thought process, a new individual. Number 18, it says, for wickedness burn as the fire. Now I'm being redundant. And you all should understand what it's talking about. It shall devour the briars and the thorns. Allegory, parable, meaning for those of you that cannot make the transition in thought away from the things that they've taught us to depend on, it's saying you're going to suffer, continue to suffer. You're going to perish. If you can't unplug from the addiction, you're not going to make it. He says, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting up of smoke. And if you remember, there was that smoke and that burning that was seen forever. You don't want to be associated on that side of the discussion, because that was the side of error and or mistake. You want to pull yourself up out of that, and thankfully, nobody can do it but you. So you can feel sorry for yourself, or you can find that strength deep down within yourself to know what it means to support that part of yourself to come up out of error. I can give you guidance and direction, but you're going to have to do the work. I can receive guidance and direction, but I'm going to have to do the work. We can be associated with one another, but collectively, individually to collectively, we have to be consistent with doing the work. I can't watch you in error and think we're achieving something. It doesn't work like that. If we're striving for perfection and you see me in error, you're supposed to present the measure of correction that we can keep moving. But we have to know what the standard within the measure is, that we know we're not just using or doing it out of our own, volition and making it up as we think or as we feel. But the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Or if a man speak, let him speak the oracles of God. And don't get lost in the word sound God. All it's talking about is the truth within the principle of righteousness. Look at 2nd Ezra 4:30. Because we were talking about being lost in the thicket of the forest and being a part of that smoke that is going to rise up forever for those that do not have the strength or do not have it within them to lift themselves up morally within principles that we can now be accountable. Y'all always talk about somebody being accountable for this and accountable for that. Well, you first have to identify the information of which accountability can be called or what you're being held to. You first have to identify that to stand on it. But here, for the grain of evil seed have been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. And this is what we're witnessing right now in the world today. That grain of evil seed. That's what we're witnessing. Look at what it's doing. That grain, just a grain. See what it has grown into? See how it has spread throughout the earth and why it must be eradicated? It says, from the beginning, and how much ungodliness have it brought up unto this time. This is what I just pointed out. And how much shall it yet bring forth? Like, it's not going to stop. And this is what I'm saying. With them, they keep promising peace, but they are of the evil seed. And where I told you there are only two types of people: the children of God and the children of the devil. If I can use that terminology and you can understand what I'm saying. They are children of righteousness and children of wickedness. And the children of wickedness, they're not going to stop until they are arrested and eradicated, detained, and dealt with appropriately. They're just not going to stop. They're going to do what they do. They lie, they cheat, they steal. So it says, and how much more shall it bring up until the time of the threshing come? Right? It has to happen. This is why nation shall rise against nation. So we're trying to understand, also really what's going on as we talk about the Bible and we look at how they're saying this is of God and God is, with them. And I'm telling you, it's not so. And prophecy speaks, otherwise. And some of you believe, that what they're doing is for the good of all humanity. And all I'm saying is it's the great war of ignorance. But you're going to have to make a decision. Some of you have already made the decision, and those of you that say you will not decide by default, you've decided with them. Here. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Now, who are we talking about? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Well, you have those that are righteous, you have those that are wicked. You have those that are wicked that the earth is in their hand. There's a perpetual hatred against the righteous from the wicked. You don't know who you are. They know who you are. They use their energy and effort to hunt you down, to track you down, to keep you oppressed, suppressed, and not knowing and confused. And that's the seed of the wicked, that one grain in the heart of Adam that have flourished, the weed that's choking out all the life and light in the earth. So here's the prophecy expressing what's going on. So if you're confused and you're not knowing who's who and what's what, here's the allegory being expressed. Luke 21:24. They shall fall by the edge of the sword, meaning a chosen people. And they fell because of their own disobedience and willingness not to live according to their standard of life. And they shall be led away captive into all nations. Get this. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So this place called Jerusalem, this land so sought after, it's going to be trodden down of the Gentiles, meaning the heathen. And then it says, until the time of the Gentile be fulfilled. So we have to understand this key part. What is the time of the Gentile being fulfilled? We can't just read over that because it's trying to tell us something. If we understand testimony, if we understand prophecy, and we know nation shall rise against nation, and we realize what time we're living in right now, it said the Gentile were going to be in that land, in that place, until the time of the Gentile be fulfilled. Do you think the time of the Gentile has been fulfilled? Well, I would say this. If the time of the Gentile had been fulfilled, there would be no more corruption in the earth. There would be no more wars. There would be no more chaos. We'd have righteousness because it's the working of the Gentile and the corruption and the lies and the deception of the Gentile that have brought us to this place of degradation. We're witnessing the ruling or the rulership of the heathen. Their way of life, their culture, their traditions, their customs, their everything. So the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled is not yet. So what does that say? They're still in the land. But somebody's claiming to be the people. and they're in the land. But it doesn't line up with prophecy. It doesn't line up. Somebody's trying to say they're the people and they're returning to the land and they want to make it as God have meant for it to be, but they don't align with what's written. According to this, they're nothing but Gentiles. Because the prophecy, unless the writing doesn't know what's meant based on what's written, the writing, it says they would be in that land until the time of the thrashing, meaning until they were all moved off of, that land. Until the time they were all moved off of that land. So look at this. Jeremiah 46 and 27. Y'all follow me what I'm saying right here. Thank you all for coming into the live also. He says, I will save thee from afar. I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return and be in rest and at ease, and none shall make him afraid. Now, let's just analyze this right here for a second as we just come out of the Gentile being in the land until the time of the Gentile being fulfilled, right? So let's look at this precept and put it upon this precept, and let's see if we can make some sense of what's being said right here. Did it say the U.S. military or the British military or their armies and their might? No. So when you see what's happening over in that land, in that place, in this day and time, does it fit the description of the eye that's going to save thee from afar? Or is this the strength of man and their machinery engineering a narrative to do what they do, stealing land, right? Hijacking another man's heritage, taking their house, assuming their position. That's just what they do. They lie, they cheat, they steal. But he says, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. Ain't nobody coming for you. They're not coming for you. All of what they're doing, it's limited to their own greed. What they're doing has nothing to do with what's written right here. He says, and Jacob shall return and shall rest at ease. So if these are the people over there in the land, why are they not at rest? Why are they not at ease? He said, and none shall make him afraid. Why are they still at war if the hand of God put them in the land? Only thing I can speak is based on Luke 21 and 24 is the Gentile is still in the land. And the fulfillment of the Gentile has not come to its end just yet to where they would be eliminated, eradicated. That's just an observation for a number of you that feel as if what's happening over there is the express will and intent, of, God. Now, there is a God, okay? But it's the God of this world being that of corruption and wickedness. It's not the God that is here expressing how righteousness is going to return into the world, because the military or the might of the military will not be able to achieve it. All they're doing, they're being shifted into a location, the place of Jehoshaphat, or that Armageddon, which is also the place that they can be dealt with. In that place, in that time, during that transition, this is where we see the fulfillment of the Gentile coming to an end, and things will be corrected. Once and for all, we'll have righteousness on earth. And a number of you can't perceive what that is because you're riddled with chaos, confusion, and corruption. You can't see past the imagination that they've positioned before you. Isaiah 9 and 19. Let's do this before I go to Isaiah 9 and 19, because we got a lot of people in the room. We got a lot of activity going on in the chat also. If you don't understand what I'm saying, and there needs to be more clarity, you can put a 2. You can put a 2 in the chat. If what I'm saying don't make sense, and I'm just a babbling idiot, you can put a 2 in the chat. But if you understand what's being said and it's making sense and you're able to follow it, put a 1 in the chat. Let's just try that. Then we're going to go to Isaiah 9 and 19. Through the wrath, it says, though the wrath of the Lord of hosts is in the land darkened. Listen, y'all, pay attention right here. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened. Through the wrath. Okay? And the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother. They don't talk about this position against the people in their institutions. The position of wickedness, that mindset, it repetitively says it's going to be destroyed. They use the composition of fire, fuel for the fire. And this is where, it's expressed for those of you that refuse to make that shift. You're just fuel for the fire. No man shall spare his brother. It's like when you talk about that grain of evil seed that was in Adam's heart, as he said, no man shall spare his brother. You'd have to know Adam had a whole lot of children, but Seth was that one that was select and or chosen. The rest of them, they would be considered fuel for the fire. The book says, let the multitude perish then. But for a number of you, that's hard to understand. But it's saying wickedness, corruption has no place in the new world. The earth ain't going nowhere, you all. A shift in mindset is inevitable. And for those that can't make the cut within the shift of the mindset, no man, no brother, no anybody will be able to spare you. Matthew 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Within prophecy, this is what we're witnessing, but we have to understand why these things are happening. Why is the nation rising against nation and the kingdom against kingdom? Why is this happening? We're being shown, first of all, an example of what's not going to be in the world to come. In the world of righteousness, you all, there's no more war. There's no more war. And I know a number of you, again, you can't fathom that because you're a realist. You've convinced yourself that this is all that it's going to be. Matthew 10:34, he says, think not. Okay, let me back up, because in the religion, they have you all thinking that the Son of God is coming and it's going to be a love fest, and we're all just going to be singing wonderful songs in heaven, and it's just going to be this big cultural party. And wake up. Stop believing the lies, the indoctrination, the imaginations of men. Look at what's being said in this book, and they don't talk to you from this perspective. They've sold you a totally separate narrative. Look at what he said. Matthew 10:34. Think not that I've come to send peace on earth. Stop right there. Y'all think he coming, right? He said, don't think I'm coming to send peace on earth. So what does that mean? He says, I come not to send peace, but a sword. What is he talking about? Because we were told he coming in, he gonna love on everybody. He says, for I am come to set man at variance against his father, the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. He said, and the man's foe shall be there of his own household. Now, let me try to explain it to you. Because again, we're dealing with parable, right? And some of you are trying to deal with it literally. We're dealing with a hidden meaning within allegory. And he said it's not meant for everybody to understand. So for those that can hear, let me explain to you what he's saying. He didn't come to bring peace on earth. He came to bring the sword, meaning the fulfillment of the Gentiles, bringing it to an end. He got to wipe them out. And he got to wipe them out using the thing that they know best. The Lord is a man of war. And he's going to show that he's better at it than them. The man against his father, and daughter against the mother and mother-in-law. This is that shift in mindset to where everybody's not going to make the cut. You're going to be in the house with individuals that won't understand, and to them, you will be the enemy. But don't you worry. Don't you worry, because everybody's not a child of God, you all. And you can't look at someone and say, oh, yeah, because people can dress the part and pretend the part, but we have to know how to exercise our senses beyond the mundane sense of how we use them. But he's not coming to bring peace on earth, not before he deal with them in total elimination and or destruction. That's how you eradicate corruption. To set the foundation for righteousness. So a number of you have said, oh, the only way we're going to, get to liberation is, there has to be some conflict. Well, this is it. It's not a conflict where we go out and think we're going to pick up our arms and, we're going to get our munitions and we're going to go at it against them. We won't win on that playing field because that's not our way to deal in combat. If there's no weapon formed against us that's going to prosper, we have to understand the transition that takes place first. As long as we're in this terrestrial flesh, we can lose our life. We don't have no power. The world is in the hand of the wicked, you all. But during the transition, then we have power. They can't hurt us. I just hope y'all understand what I'm trying to say to you. With the weapons that they've created and the things that they've engineered, we can't win using their stuff. For some of you, you just won't understand what's being said because you trust in those things. Isaiah 33 and 13, he says, hear ye that are far off. He says, what I've done. He says, acknowledge my might. Okay, we read that one. He says in Isaiah 9 and 5, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with the burning and fuel of fire. So for us, it's not going to be with tanks and, launchers, and we're going to have a different type of strength. First, understanding what it means to transition to a celestial being, having a celestial flesh. If you want to know more about the celestial flesh, look at it in 1 Corinthians 15. I would tell you exactly where it is, but I'm going to tell you to read 1:15. Read so you can roll your way into what it's saying. Okay? And if you missed what I said, the link to the YouTube channel, it's up in the bio. Just copy it because on Wednesday, I'm going to change it. I'm going to be rotating different links, but it'll be there. You can copy the link. You can go to the channel where the videos will be posted. You can see the other Prophecy 2026 videos to catch what you missed. And then help you to better get grounded and make sense of a lot of what's written in this book that they're not explaining and or talking about. He says, Matthew 24 and 51. He says, and shall cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. This is speaking about those that refuse to accept the transition. You're going to receive the reward of the wicked. Like, this is just redundant throughout the writings, and they won't give you this in the religion or in their institutions, because if they did, you would then think to say, oh, shoot, I have to change my position. And if you change your position, that means they got to step down. And they're not willing to do that. It's not in them to do that. They're not just going to step down. It's going to take complete eradication. As he said, he didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. That's the only way they're going to be moved off of that seat. And we're not going to do it in the sense of the terrestrial flesh and or the terrestrial being. Oh, and this is where the patience also come into play, because through prophecy, we're witnessing their collapse. We're witnessing it. They can't endure in this manner and or way. Matthew 24:51. He says, and shall cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Isaiah 33:14. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness have surprised the hypocrites, because you have those that don't accept the change is coming. They think this is the way the world is going to be established forever. So they're positioning themselves to do what they got to do. And if that means be wicked, then by means they're going to be wicked. They're going to do what they got to do to get whatever they feel they need to get. He says, but you're going to be surprised. And you're going to receive the reward of the wicked, because his hand was still stretched out and you could have made a change. You could have pivoted, but no, you didn't want to pivot. You were sold to your lust. He says, who among us shall dwell with devouring fire? Listen to what's being said, you all. Who among us will dwell with devouring fire? Like, is that where you want to be, in chaos and corruption and, with this foolishness? Is that where you want to dwell? He says, who among us shall dwell with everlasting burning? We could have an everlasting, we can have an everlasting sustaining, calmness, serenity, or we can have everlasting confusion, corruption. This is what he's positioning. Where do you want to be? Because the transition is coming and the divide is going to be set. And once the divide is set, there will be no crossing back and forth and over and from this one to that one. It's going to be a permanent divide. So you now have an opportunity to make the decision based on which side of the divide will you rest in. Zechariah 13:8. Thank you all for coming into the live. Tap the screen. It does not cost you anything, you all. The Daily Heart Me is up there. Repost the live, share the live. I appreciate you, Michael, for all the sharing and reposting, that you've done, and everybody else that is actively sharing and reposting as well, because this word does need to be, heard within our households, and people need to be made aware that something has to be done and that they have to do something. Okay. And you can check your inbox too, Michael. Check your inbox. Zechariah 13 and 8, you all. And it shall come to pass that in the land, saith the Lord, two parts therein shall be cut off and die. The third shall be left therein. So when we talk about, as he said in Isaiah 33 and 14, the everlasting burning, in Zechariah 13 and 8, he's telling you 2/3 of the people are not going to make it. 1/3 of the people will cross over. Now, that's a decision that has already been made based on what's based on what's written. Now, some of you don't give any credit, to what's written. You give credit to other philosophies and other vain deceit, and that's on you. But this makes total sense to me when I look at everything that's going on in the world, and when I look at the demeanor and the actions and the habits of people. This is explaining it all in code, a riddle, a puzzle. And for a number of you, you just haven't taken time to try and put it together. But once you start putting it together and that picture pop out on you, when it pop out, it's painful, it's bitter, but then it becomes sweet because you look at all that you've been through, all of the hurt, but then you come to realize what's available, what is available after you've gone through all of this nonsense. Daniel 12 and 10, he says, many shall be purified. So the 1/3, these are the ones that are going to be purified. And this is what I'm saying. You're going to have to do that work to make that cut, to be purified. If you don't go through the purification process, you can't cross over. What are we talking about, cross over? The writings talk about a transformation of flesh. See, because we were born into this dispensation, this world, this paradigm, all we know is the terrestrial flesh. That's all we know. But we've heard about a higher being. We've heard about sheer energy, and we've heard about these things, but we have not understood how to get into that suit, into that position, how to cross over. And we've heard, the Kundalini energy, and you got to sit and meditate and it rise up and pop. It's going to, in all of these stories and the superstition and, everything, but how you have to repurpose your life. How you have to look for the guidance within words, and how you discipline yourself to be able to facilitate a celestial vessel, a sheer energy type of individual. A number of us just can't even fathom what that is. A celestial flesh, a man celestial. But these are the two types. And a number of us are headed back to immortality because that's where we fell from. Many shall be purified and made white and tried. Don't get caught up in the semantics when it said and made white. All it's saying is purified and tried. Like you're going to have to go through it to prove, like gold is tried, like silver. is tried, like, and purified, you're going to have to go through it. You're going to have to prove. He says, but the wicked will do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. This is what I'm saying. When you talk about that celestial, some of you will not understand. And it's because it's not meant for you to understand. The wicked will do wickedly, period. But the wise shall understand. So again, for those of you that truly get what's being expressed, or it has hit a position within your mind and you know now that you have some work that you have to do, he says, the wise will understand, but the wicked, they just gonna keep doing wicked. Zechariah 13:9. He says, and I will bring the third part through the fire. This is the prophecy talking. The third part is going to come through the fire, through the destruction. It happens at a twinkling of an eye. The third part is going to be brought through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined. That means no more corruption in the world. No more hurt, no more sorrow, no more pain, no more loss of life, no more conflict. He says, and will try them as gold is tried, because to be in the land of righteousness, to renew the earth, the grain of evil seed cannot be in your heart, not even a grain. Unacceptable. Without spot, without blemish. He says, they shall call on my name. And when he says they shall call on my name, he's not saying Jesus, Yahweh, Yahweh, and all of these things that folk want to argue about. When he says they shall call on my name, he's talking about the law of life, or the heritage that you're going to exhibit, that you're going to live. That's how you're going to call on the name, through how you exercise and perform the will. He says, and I will hear them. I will say it as my people. They will say, the Lord is my God. Right? And that's because you'll be performing the measure in which is required of you. Not sitting there saying, Jesus, 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 Yahweh, 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 and all of this nonsense that they have people doing in the world today. Jesus, Yahweh, Yahweh, those names have meaning to purpose. Not something that you just chant and call out. It's a call to action. If you understand metaphor, if you understand allegory, the hidden meaning. Isaiah 33 and 15. He says, he that walk righteously and speak uprightly. So how do you walk righteously and speak uprightly? The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. If a man speak, let him speak the oracles of God. He that despise, he that despise the gain of oppression, because a number of you don't think there is oppression because you just made 500K. And if people just do like what you did, then they'd find, some sense of gratification in the world of the wicked. He says, let me start from the top on that one. He that walk righteously and speak uprightly, he that despise the gain of oppression, that shake his hand from holding bribes, because a number of you will take a bribe in a minute. And because they've paid you, you now use your energy and or effort trying to convince others to stay in the trap. Let me see, his hands from holding bribes, that stop his ears from hearing of blood, and shut his eyes from seeing evil. He says, he that dwell on high. It's saying we have to move ourselves from the things that we're known to be familiar with and or think it's a way to get ahead. He said, his place of defense shall be the munitions of the rocks. Okay, we getting there. Bread shall be given him, his water shall be sure, meaning we're not going to have to want for anything leaving this world of corruption. And those that are of that wicked mind, they won't be able to get to the place where righteousness and uprightness is. They won't be able to come in. It's unacceptable. Revelations 15:4. He says, who shall not fear thee? Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? Okay, again, when he's talking about fear thee and glorify the name, he's saying, who will not live according to the righteous standard? Who will not understand that if you don't accept the righteous standard, then the only other opportunity for you is to perish. Those are just the two standards and or way of being. To perish or to thrive in righteousness. Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? Thy name, again, is not what we've been told. The name is based on the standard or measure that we use to be purified. For thou only art holy. Holy meaning separate. For example, the way of life that they've given to us, how we're familiar with it, but look at what it does to us. But the way of life that we can have in righteousness, that's holy, meaning separate. He says, for all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. Let's look at what it's saying right here. Because when the world makes the transition and we remove the wicked from the seat of authority and or power, so now we have a righteous ruler. We have a righteous government. Okay? Now all the other nations that have been spared, they have to conform now to this new rule, this new standard, this new way. And for those that don't want to do it, they get eliminated, point blank, period, because the new world will be without corruption, period. I know a number of you, it's hard to understand it, but that's where we're headed. Even as we're watching nation rise against nation, this is their end. And they can't stop. They can't stop themselves if they wanted to. But for those of us that know what's happening, we cheer it on. He says, where was I? Oh, okay. As I was explaining, the nations shall come up in worship, meaning the other nations that are left over, they're going to worship, meaning serve. They're going to reposition their way of living, doing, and being. And if they can't withhold it, then they have to go. They won't be able to plot and or plan against the children of God because there's a difference between a celestial and a terrestrial. But because you have someone that's of a higher form and or existence, they don't press down on people in oppression just because they can. That wouldn't be righteous. But the ability for people to live in peace and to have what they need according to the measure, that's different. We don't know because we're just so used to watching somebody rule in corruption. Luke 19:27. He says, but those mine enemy, which would not, but those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them. Because he said all nations will come and worship, before, him in the mountain. He says in Luke 19:27, but those mine enemies. So the enemy would be the ones that refuse to do right. If you're not willing to do righteousness, you're an enemy. And that, I don't know where you all find opposition in that. It's just saying, if you good with righteousness, then we good. We can move, we can work together. But if you're about that BS and about that nonsense, then you're an enemy to righteousness. He says, but those mine enemy, which would not that I should reign over them, he says, bring hither. He said, and slay them before me. And I'm just telling you, in the new world, it's not going to be tolerated, the corruption and the evil. And we all should be okay with that because we should be tired of the oppression. We should be tired of the dis-ease, the suffering. We should be sick of those things. Micah 4:1. Just putting the precepts on top of the precepts. He says, but in the last days it shall come to pass, and this is what we're moving toward. The mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established, talking about the government. In the top of the mountain. And it shall be exalted above the hills, meaning all the other little nations and governments and everything that was happening. This is going to be exalted above those standards and or ways of life. And the people shall flow unto it, meaning we're going to depart from corruption and wickedness, and we're going to move toward righteousness. And many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, meaning let's move into righteousness. Let's come to understand what this way of life is, that there's no more hurt, there's no more pain, there's no more disease, there's no more oppression. We're not dealing unjustly, with each other. That's a thing of the past, never to be relived or resurfaced again. He says, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord and to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us the way. He will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion. And the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Now, semantics again. Y'all don't get caught up because I know what's going on in the world. So when you hear names like Jacob and Zion and Jerusalem, it triggers you to think about them. But this right here, it don't have nothing to do with them. He says, and he shall judge among many people. This is a righteous judgment. And rebuke strong nations afar off, meaning control over the entire earth. There will be no two kings and two rulers and two governments. It's going to be one government in righteousness. The entire world, and I know for a number of folks, it's like impossible. You can't see it. All you know is the corruption and what we have in existence today. You can't even see it's quickly meeting or going to its end. He says, and he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords and plowshares and their spears and prong hooks. He says, nation shall not lift up a sword against nation. Neither shall they learn war anymore. We should want this. We all should want this, putting our prejudice aside. A existence without conflict, although because we've been so corrupt and so spoiled, we can't, for a number of us, we can't think of a place where we live in harmony with each other. But it's on the horizon, y'all. Isaiah 33 and 22. For the Lord is our judge. The Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. He will save us. So I just use some terminology, and for some of you, you can't see past it, but we're talking about allegory, a hidden meaning. The Lord, the king. So let me explain what this is saying in Isaiah 33 and 22. For the Lord is our judge. He's talking about the law, that standard of life. That's the thing that we'll be held accountable to. The Lord is our lawgiver, that measure of the law. That's what we have to live by. The Lord is our king. That standard of life, that law is the thing that we serve. That's the thing that rules over us. That's what makes us what and or who we are. He will save us, meaning the law of the Lord being perfect, converting the soul. If we choose any other standard to exist in life, to conduct ourselves, that will be our downfall. But if we stand on the law of life for the heritage, this is the thing that will salvage our soul from the corruption. So before you get caught up in the semantics, come to understand the intent and or the purpose behind Isaiah 33 and 22. I'm going to back it up. I'm going to back it up right here, and I'm coming to the end, you all. I'm coming to the end. Coming to the end, doing some good time right here. I'm going to back that up with Baruch 4 and 1. It says, this is the book of the commandments of God. And some of you have come to say, oh, it's 613 laws out there. Don't keep repeating the lies and the garbage. And some of you are like, the 42 laws of my yacht and the laws of power and this, that, and the other. Look, The only way this is ever going to make sense to any of you is you have to start trying to wrap your head around it. You have to start spending time in understanding what it is or where it is, and then it's going to reveal itself to you. I can't explain it to you beyond that point because some of you want an explanation that's not there, that leads to you having a cheat code or not being able to do anything. But if you want this, you're going to have to spend the time in trying to understand, to even know what the laws are. And like the addict and or within the addiction that we're trying to come out of, taking it one step and one day at a time, we'll see the laws and we'll come to understand how to add them to our life. As it says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Being an addict, it's not going to happen all at once. Being addicted to our flesh and to the lust and to the corruption, we're going to have to wean and work our way out. But the decision has to be made that this is where you want to be and this is what you want to do. And once you get into the reading and you start to look for the principles that you can apply to your life, this is how we get correction. This is how we make the pivot. This is the book of the commandments of God and the law that endure forever. So what endures forever is the standard, the principle, the law. That's what endures forever. That's what's going to be with us forever. And if we depart from it, then we perish. The fall is because we left that which endures forever. It's still there. It's still there. It has only allowed for this existence to be, again, for the record, that it can now come and move it out of the way, never to return again. He says, this, the law that endure forever. Here he says, and they that keep it shall come to life, shall come to life, come to life, come to life. And this is what we've been talking about, coming back to life. Because now we're in a fallen state. We're in a dead state within the terrestrial flesh. But when we come to life is where we make the transition to a celestial flesh, to that all-knowing state and or being, where right now our minds, as we've been told, oh, we're only using, a small portion, of our brain. And here we are in this limited capacity of the terrestrial flesh. But through the transformation, it's a different sense of knowing. The capability of your mind at that point is totally different. But you can't have that quality in a fallen state. But as it pertains to this law of life that endure forever within the book of the commandments, if you keep it, you'll come to life. The transition, you'll come to life. But such as leave it shall die. It's just that simple. It's a chain of words. It's a place that we position ourselves to make the transition. Matthew 19 and 17. The man asked, he says, but if thou wilt enter into life, he said, keep the commandments. Because the man asked, what I got to do to get into heaven? And heaven only means a world totally a world that's totally involved within righteousness. That's heaven, because this is also their heaven within the corruption and within, the wickedness. This is all oppression, for a number of us. But to get into that heaven, he said, what I got to do? And he said, if thou wilt enter into life, he said, keep the commandments. It's something as simple as that, as a number of people turn their nose up to. And I say it's because of the addiction to the corruption, the addiction to the flesh, the addiction to the lust. You don't want to keep no commandments. You don't want to be accountable. You want to make it up as you go. You have gone about to establish your own righteousness. Daniel 7 and 10. We're coming to the end, you all. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands and thousands ministered unto him. And when it says ministered, it's just talking about how we serve in righteousness. And 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. Again, this is where we had talked about that Gentile, the time of the Gentiles, coming into fulfillment. This is what this is talking about. The judgment is set. The books were opened. The world of the wicked has met its end. That judgment is set. But those of the righteous, we just have to understand what patience is and continue to perform in the manner of righteousness against all odds. I know it's hard. But we have to do it. You have to want to do it. As I said in Isaiah 8 and 20, it said, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word. We have to understand what the words are, because some of you think you can make the words up and you can deal with spells and enchantments and, you can do all those things, but there is a standard for righteousness. It's been there. The only issue is folks have not wanted to discipline themselves to it because we're addicted to the corruption. We're addicted to lust. We're addicted to lies. A number of us have not yet agreed and or understood that this is the fallen state of our life into the addiction, and how we come up out of it is through the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. This is the thing that will sanctify and or reinvigorate us. And I'm not talking about no one's religion. But if you don't spend time looking to decipher the word and having the understanding beyond the literal sense, you won't get it. But for those that are chosen to have this comprehension and this understanding, like the sword that was stuck in the stone, you'll be able to pull it out. Everybody is not a child of God. And as we come down to the last few verses, Daniel 7 and 11, he said, I beheld them because the voice of the great words which the horn spake. Horn is someone of power. The great words which the horn spake. I beheld till the beast was slain. The beast is, an image of a man. For example, the world right now is ruled by the spirit of beast. Look at what they're doing. And his body destroyed and given to the burning flame, and not only his body, but all that follow him. Obadiah 1 and 15, he says, for the day of the Lord is near upon the heathen, because he said, that they would be in the land until the time of the Gentile be fulfilled. So they're still over there in the land, although they're claiming to be the people. It's all a lie. The day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. They're not ready for that. They don't want to talk about that. The reward shall return upon thine own head. Isaiah 35:4, he says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Y'all heard me talk about this morning. He said, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. And I'm just saying, this is a name that we don't use. We don't even know who Idumea is in this day and time. Who's that? Because they've shifted into calling themselves European. They've made themselves Australians. You know, they steal lands. They steal, property. They hijack heritage. So you don't know who they are because they're in disguise. They've made themselves Arabs, and they've made themselves the children of God, and they're just liars. They're deceivers. They're tricksters. They're imposters. They've led the world into chaos and corruption, and they've led it into total ruin. And they keep promising to turn it around, but it keeps going further and further into destruction. And some of you got faith in them. You believe in their lies, and you're supporting it, and you're thinking your vote is going to change something. Yeah, well, you're going to receive the reward of the wicked. He says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Do a little research on who Idumea is as they transition from being Esau to the Edomite to, the Roman, to reinvigorate or repositioning, themselves now today. They don't go by them old names anymore. They've created nomenclature for everybody. That's to keep things confused, and so that you won't know the truth and or who these words are truly talking about. The separation of who's who and for what is going to be what. He says, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Now let's look at Obadiah 1:18, because they've told us God loves everybody. But God have expressed there's a people that he truly hate. And he have an indignation for that people forever. Nothing you do or I do can change that. It is what it is. And that people will be made an example of. No different than we've been made an example of. And it expressed for what they've done is going to be returned to them, but they don't feel like that should be talked about and or discussed. We should see them only in their majesty and in, their corrupt way of living, and we should strive to be like them. Obadiah 1:18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. Esau is the Idumean. For stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. The issue is we don't know who Esau is. A number of us, again, because we don't use terminology like that to identify who people are. We've been given different nomenclature to identify this people or that people, and that's a part of their disguise. Because the intent of what we call the devil is to deceive the whole world. And they've done it. They've achieved. But even the deception has to come down. As the wicked is to be revealed. But if you don't know who the wicked is, I can't help you. And there shall be none remaining in the house of Esau. This goes beyond you, beyond me. He says, for the Lord have spoken it. So when you say for the Lord have spoken it, it's to understand this has already been written. This has already been prophesied. Can't stop it, can't change it. Although they're trying to. They think they can outlast or they think they can beat it. They're trying to. But all they're doing is they're pushing themselves further and further, to their end or destination point of being no more. It's inevitable. Everything they do moves them further and further to their end. Some of them can't even tell you why they're doing what they're doing. They're led to do it because it's divine. It's meant to be. It's prophecy. Every word in the prophecy will stand. We just need to be familiar with it, as he said in Isaiah 8:20, the law and the testimony. This is where we find light. This is where the truth is. We've just never studied it from that standpoint. We've allowed them to teach it to us. And when they taught it to us, like they pervert life, they pervert the word. Isaiah 38, Isaiah 34 and 8. 34 and 8, he says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. So when we look at the controversy of Zion, you all, it's looking at everything that's going on right now, how they've polluted the name. Now, there's so much controversy around who the people are, what's meant by it, and they've bastardized the heritage, the name. They've just polluted and corrupted everything. But that's the point of the Lord's vengeance, to fix it and to show you who the liars are, who the wicked is, where the deception is resting, and to eradicate it from off the earth. And if you have a problem with it, then you'll be moved along with it. It's just that simple. No more arguing, no more fussing, no more debating. It just is what it is. Revelation 3 and 9. 3 and 9, he says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not. This is the controversy of Zion that's talked about in Isaiah, which say they are Jews and are not. He says, but do lie. He says, behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, meaning serve before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. A number of people feel it's blasphemy to read that one verse right there, because they say that goes against, the standard of what's happening in the world right now, and that's promoting some degree of hate. Well, these writings are not promoting degrees of hate. These writings are explaining something happened. Confusion has been spread, and there's a need for it to be cleared up. Someone is acting as if there's something or someone they're not, and they're deceiving the world. And that's the point of the prophecy, so we can look at it and come to understand the things that they're saying and leading to how God is working with them. It doesn't line up with how the word says it's supposed to happen. Because here he's saying when he do it, there's going to be peace in the land, period. So if they're in the land and there is no peace, you have to wonder who did it. They're still over there fighting, claiming to be in the land. The prophecies say when you get back into the land, it's going to be rest, it's going to be peace, it's going to be secure. That's not happening, you all. Something's wrong. And lastly, for today, Jeremiah 46 and 27. And this is how you understand and know something's wrong, and the story that they tell is different than what's written. He says, but fear not thou, O my servant Jacob. He says, and be not dismayed, O Israel. And again, when we talk about Jacob and Israel, you all, we're not talking about the foolishness and the nonsense that's going on the other side of the world. Right? Be not dismayed, O Israel. For behold, he says, I will save thee from afar. Listen to it. And thy seed from the land of their captivity. Follow what's being said. And Jacob shall return and be in rest and at ease, and none shall make him afraid. So again, if they are who they say they are, and they're in the land, why is there no rest? Why is it not at ease? Why is it that someone can still make them afraid as to where they're in conflict over there right now? The whole world is just still in an uproar. That's just one way to understand who's who and what's what. He says, I will save thee from afar, not the American army, not the British army, not the tanks and, not, their weaponry. He says, I will save thee from afar. So this is how we come to understand what's going on and the deception based on the prophecy. And again, I only did it this way because on the news here lately, I heard them say they brought the Bible into the discussion to say God is with them. And you do have foolish people that have just taken that narrative and ran with it. So I just wanted to show what's actually being said in the book versus how they're trying to portray it. And if they are who they say they are, why is there no peace? Because this right here says the moment you enter into the land, there's going to be peace, rest. No one's going to be able to make you afraid. Something's off. But again, this is Prophecy 2026. And for those of you that have understood or have gained, from this conversation, by the grace of the Creator, I hope you come back, on the following Saturday. If you look into the profile, you'll see every Saturday at 11 a.m. we'll have these discussions, and I may do pop-up, discussions. And then on Wednesday nights, this is where I'm more talking about civics, decolonization, still looking to move us in a position to where we can negotiate for our own affairs as a people, in this time, separately from how they function and move. So we'll continue to talk about world events and what's happening, as well. So I know I've had you guys, here now for about 2 hours. So I think I'm going to let you go. And I appreciate everyone that has come, into the room, into the live. Okay. Most High willing, we'll be back, next Saturday. And I know a number of you like really want to comment and, have your say. So I'm going to try. And every time I try to do a condensed version, it always ends up being 3 and 4 pages. So I'm really going to work to like try to get it down to a page or a page and a half. So then I can open the floor up and we can have some dialogue, around precept and principle and what's being called or asked, of us. But after I done sat here, for 2 hours or 2 hours and a half and went through an entire illustration, yeah, I need to take a break just for a second. Okay. So I appreciate you all and I thank you. So until the following Sabbath, you all be safe. You all be good. I say shalom.